Directed by Paul Michael Glaser and released in 1987, The Running Man is loosely based on the Stephen King novel of the same name. The story follows Arnold Schwarzenegger as Ben Richards in a dystopian 2017 Los Angeles, in which convicted criminals are forced to compete on a game show called The Running Man, where they are pursued by murderous hunters for the entertainment of the masses. After being framed for a crime he didn't commit, Ben Richards is forced to compete on The Running Man and fight for his survival against its vicious hunters and sadistic host. Despite starring Arnold at the height of his career, The Running Man seemed to largely fly under the radar after it was released. It underperformed at the box office and is generally not remembered as fondly as other Arnold sci-fi action movies like Predator and The Terminator. But with another adaptation of the Running Man novel coming out this year, now seemed like the perfect time to check out this movie as well as read the book. Having seen the movie and read most of the book at the time of this review, I have to say, I actually like this movie quite a bit, and even more so than the book it's based on. In this video, I'll explain why.
Don't forget to send me a copy.
While the book leans heavily into a grounded, gritty, post-apocalyptic tone, The Running Man movie is much more bright and whimsical. Personally, I really like this change. The bright, colorful 80s aesthetic really helps this movie to feel distinct from other dystopian stories. The excessive glamour of the game show provides a great contrast to the drab and grimy condition of the city of LA. Whether intentional or not, this is great commentary on how the glitz and glamour of Hollywood is sharply contrasted with the poverty and lawlessness that it is surrounded by. And overall, I would say that the movie does a better job than the book of capturing the essence of an American game show. It wouldn't surprise me if this movie had some minor influence on works with a similar premise like The Hunger Games and Squid Game. On the subject of tone and aesthetic, this is a movie that absolutely oozes the 1980s. We've got big hair, crazy fashion, a synth score, and workout instructional videos hosted by Jesse Ventura himself.
Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready for Captain Freedom's workout.
This movie is such a time capsule of the era in which it was made, which is so entertaining to watch. This movie also delivers on the action with how excessive the spectacle of it all is. This is a movie in which the villains are a giant man with a chainsaw, a giant man with a jetpack and flamethrower, a giant man with a bladed hockey stick, and a giant man who sings opera while shooting electricity from his fingers. Each fight looks and feels like a video game boss battle, and I mean that in the best way possible. On its face, it's utterly ridiculous, but it is so much fun because of it. In regard to the characters, Arnold gives his typical tough guy persona, which is basically the same character that he plays in every movie. But when he is spouting off cheesy one-liners like this,
Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero! How about the light? What a hothead.
how can you not be entertained? While Arnold is entertaining as the lead, the real standout performance here comes from the villain. In the book, Damon Killian is much more of a generic evil businessman, but in the movie, Killian is made into a character that perfectly encapsulates the persona of a charismatic yet cynical game show host. This is due in large part to the fact that Killian is played by Richard Dawson, the original host of Family Feud. Having a real-life game show host play an exaggerated villainous version of himself is such a great touch that adds so much to what otherwise could have been a very boring antagonist.
Americans love television. They wean their kids on it. They love game shows. They love wrestling. They love sports, violence. We give them what they want. We're #1, Ben. That's all that counts.
This is the kind of meta joke that you don't often see in movies from this era, but it absolutely fits with the wacky, absurd tone that the movie is going for. And to top it all off, the movie ends with the villain getting catapulted into a fiery explosion and Arnold kissing the girl as Restless Heart plays in the background. This is just the perfect way to end a cheesy 80s action movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is just horrible. Words can't express what we're all feeling at this very moment.
My only big gripes with The Running Man are with its two lead characters. While Arnold is entertaining in the role, the character of Ben Richards is not very deep or compelling. In the book, Ben Richards has a strong emotional connection to the reader because he is fighting for the sake of his wife and child. But in the movie, he is just fighting to clear his own name, which is much less interesting and emotionally compelling. He does go on a bit of a character arc in which he becomes the champion for the poor people of LA, but it's not explored enough to really deepen his character. And the character of Amber, while not bad, does feel thrown in for the sake of having a love interest where it really wasn't needed. Initially, I thought she was going to help Ben from within the network itself. While she does do that in the beginning, it only lasts for a few minutes before she gets caught. And when she gets thrown into the Running Man game herself with Ben, she stops being useful and just feels like she's just along for the ride. It also doesn't help that Ben threatens her at multiple points when they first meet, which makes their romance feel a bit too quick and forced. To be fair, this is a problem with a lot of movies from this era, so I can't fault it too hard. It's just a bit of an annoyance for me. As you can probably tell from the length of this review, The Running Man is not a deep film. Its plot, characters, and message are all simple and easy to follow. However, it is still a thoroughly entertaining film thanks to its lighthearted tone, extravagant action, charismatic performances, and complete embrace of the 1980s aesthetic. It's a movie that I think deserves to be remembered alongside Predator and The Terminator as one of the great Schwarzenegger 80s action movies. So with that, I'm giving The Running Man from 1987 4 out of 5 stars. I will be very curious to see how the remake does, as it is supposedly going for a tone that is much closer to the original novel. But I am confident that no matter how that movie turns out, The Running Man from 1987 will always hold a special place in my heart. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for new videos every month, and comment down below your own thoughts on the Running Man movie, book, and what your hopes are for the new movie coming out this year. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.